Thursday, May 5th, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. We're going to look at silver today, not the price, not the charts, but the metal itself, and why, in my opinion, silver is such a threat to the bankers, and why the bankers really hate physical silver, and why they try to manipulate and suppress the price of silver. They've been doing it for over 100 years, I would say. We're also going to look at the markets as usual, and I'm going to comment on the Fed. Also like to let you know, a couple of days ago, I interviewed James Smith. He's from GANanalysis.net. He's a technical analyst. He looks at WD Gann, who was along with Jesse Livermore, probably one of the greatest speculators of the early 20th century. I'll put it up in the cards in the description. It's an hour-long interview. It won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm sure some of you will like that interview. Very detailed. So, silver. I'm going to start with a couple of quotes. The first one is from Maria Theresa Rothschild, and many of you have heard this, and this quote was made back in the I think mid 1800s or so. So we need to remember that back then silver really was money and currency for the general public. And Mr. Rothschild said, "I care not who makes a country's laws as long as I control the supply of the currency or the money." So that's the first quote. And the second one is more recent, by Franz. He's the author of Money and Wealth in the New Millennium, a prophetic guide of the New World Economic Order. And this is what he said: "Gold is the money of kings, silver is the money of gentlemen, barter is the money of peasants, but debt is the money of slaves." So there you go. Just keep that in mind. And of course, I've been stacking real silver, not ETFs, since 2003. I started with gold in 2002, and then I went on to silver in 2003. I have bullion coins, I have bars, but my favorite silver coins, or silver really, are the old numismatic coins. Sometimes they're quite collectible, sometimes they're not really, but coins from all around the world, and going back, well, thousands of years. I've got a tetradrachma from the time of Alexander the Great, and I've got Kennedy half dollars from 1964, of course. And the most interesting thing about these coins, silver coins, is that they're universal. They were used everywhere. And as Mr. Franz put it, it's the money of gentlemen. It's the money of the general public, really. Not the money of slaves, of course. That is debt. And so I wanted to talk about a coin that I've known about, but I didn't realize it was so important. And that's the Maria Theresa Taler. And I've got one here, as you can see, Maria Theresa Taler. It is a restrike. And I always wondered why they had the date 1780 on all of them. And we're going to come to that in a minute. I also have some older ones, Maria Theresa Talers, that have been minted, not just at the Vienna Mint, as you will see from an article that I actually got from a magazine I bought. I think it was a couple of days ago. I don't buy magazines so much anymore, but once in a while I buy this one. It's called Coin News. It's from the UK. And there's an article here, very interesting article. And I will try to find this article online because Coin News, they do have a website, and I'm going to put it below in the description. You might be able to find it in there. But it's called "The Fat Lady Singeth Still." So here's the article. That's the Austro-Hungarian Empress Maria Theresa. I think she ruled for about 40 years or so. So she was a long-serving empress. So let's go through this because it will help you understand why the bankers hate silver, right? So this is by Dr. Carrie Rogers, and it says Dr. Carrie Rogers considers a precursor of the U.S. dollar. There you go. Someone asked you the origin of the dollar. That became an international trade coin. So I'm just going to go through the first part of this article. I've read it all. I'm going to try to make a summary for you as well. It says some 280 years ago, a large silver thaler was minted in Austria. Its reverse displayed the Habsburg arms of Austro-Hungary. The obverse showed an effigy of the Empress Maria Theresa Walburga Amalia Christina, sovereign of Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Bohemia, Mantua, Milan, Lodomeria, and Galicia, the Austrian Netherlands, and Parma, Grand Duchess of Tuscany, Duchess of Lorraine, German Queen, and Holy Roman Empress, aka Maria Theresa. So this was not just an Austrian coin, it was throughout Europe, right? Because she was the sovereign in many places. The coin was demonetized in Austria on October 31st, 1858. Well, around the time, I would say that Mr. Rothschild made that comment. But different versions of this thaler have continued to be struck by mints, both within and outside Austria, up to the present day. So, can you imagine people minting, let's say, copper nickel dollars for the next 200 years because people like trading with that or using that as currency? I can't, but silver, the silver thaler, the Maria Theresa thaler, it's still desired today, about 280 years later. All told, some 800 million have been produced, lending support to the claim that this thaler is the most popular silver coin ever mined. The massive mintage was prompted in large part by the coin becoming widespread international currency. So there you go. People say, well, silver's not money, silver's not currency. I mean, they're quite wrong about that, I would say. Aided by the Emperor Francis Joseph, granting it official trade status in 1857. Today, it is universally known as the Maria Theresa Taler MTT, except in the Middle East, where it is reportedly long been referred to as the Fat Lady, although Austria's National Bank considers this a base slur put about by the perfidious English. In numerous countries outside the Habsburg Empire, the MTT proved so popular that it achieved legal tender status. It was one of the early coins circulated in British North America and subsequently the United States. The coin purchased slaves for the southern cotton fields, while the North used it to buy Egyptian cotton during the Civil War. Although with Spain's 8 reales, I guess that's the Spanish version of the thaler. I think it was also called a Spanish thaler or dollar. And that's where the word dollar comes from, thaler. It would help determine the choice of the dollar as the principal currency unit of a newly independent USA. Each MTT is 39.5 millimeters in diameter, 2.5 millimeters thick, and contains 28.0668 grams of 0.833 fine silver, corresponding to 23.389 grams or 0.72 troy ounces of pure silver. So I'm going to stop right here. So here we've got a Maria Theresa Taler. There you go. And here we've got, it's a Morgan dollar, as you can see. And this Morgan dollar has 24.12 grams of pure silver. And Maria Theresa Taler has 23.39. So very similar, as you can see. And what else does the article talk about? Well, it talks about how this coin was universally accepted, not just in Europe, but everywhere around the world, especially the Mediterranean, North Africa, the Middle East, even China, India, North America, South America, I guess. The Spanish had to create a coin that was basically the same thing as the Taler. It talks about how some countries like Brazil and others, and even the UK, used to overstrike the Talers for and with their own country's insignia, so to speak. The other interesting thing is that the Royal Mint minted Talers. Mussolini in the 30s, I didn't know, minted Maria Theresa Talers. Why would he mint silver coins? Well, because it was the only way to conquer Africa, because everyone in Africa wanted or used these coins. And as the magazine says here, Maria Theresa Taler is the universal coin of international trade, as you can see here. So here, sorry. So what's that got to do with the bankers? Well, you will realize if you have silver coins like I do, like old silver coins, numismatic coins, or even silver bullion coins, 1 ounce or ½ ounce, that is very private. Like I've got a few here, and it's valuable. I mean, after all, the Maria Theresa Taler is still desired today, 280 years after it was first minted, because it has value. It's easy to carry. It's recognized all over the world, and it's private. That's what the bankers hate. Have you heard in the last few years or decade, they go on about the fact that they want to have everyone having a bank account all around the world, that they want people to be banked, especially in places like Africa and poorer countries. And why would they want to do that? I mean, well, because they want to control you, not with real money, but with debt, with the money of slaves. And as the bankers work together with big governments, if you are not able to have a sovereign, independent money that you can keep privately, yes, they're going to be able to tax you more easily. They're going to be able to inflate you, because they're not going to give you anything. They're going to be giving you debt, a representation or a debt that is becoming worth less and less. They're going to inflate that money supply or currency supply that's based on debt. They don't want you to have something that has held its value for almost 300 years in your pocket. The other thing it does, it's very difficult to track and trace you for taxes, because if you deal with Mr. Smith or Mr. Wilson and you use these, who will know what you're doing, right? Yes, they use the argument of money laundering. You can catch criminals if you track and trace them, but I would say the majority of people are not criminals. So if they want to catch the criminals, don't come after our privacy and our property. Go after the criminals. So I think that's one of the reasons why they hate silver, because silver is, as Norm Franz says, the money of gentlemen. You look back at all the great empires, the Greeks, they had their tetradrachmas, the silver coins. The Romans had the silver, the denarius, which of course, as the Roman Empire collapsed, it became more and more debased, and there's almost no silver left. You look at the British Empire, we had sterling up until 1946. It was debased by then. It was only 50% silver. And after that, no more silver. Silver, I think, ensures that there's a strong middle class, sovereign, relatively prosperous. And without a strong middle class, you can't have an empire, really. And am I calling for empires? No, I'm just trying to explain why silver is so important. And you can't have an empire without having sound money, where people can trust the money. You look at America as well. You had silver up until 1964, and look what's happened since then. So yeah, that's why I think the silver squeeze movement actually is a very good movement. Started last year around the end of January, beginning of February. Yes, I'm sure the bankers are aware of this, especially people like Jeff Christian. Jeff Christian, he looks at silver and gold as commodities. I mean, you could tell him the story of the Maria Theresa Taler, that they were using it up until the 1960s and 70s in some places in the Middle East as currency and money, according to this article. But he will deny that silver is money. He will just say that it's a commodity, a hedge against inflation. And why is that? Well, because he used to work for Goldman Sachs. J. Aaron, which is the bullion dealing department for Goldman Sachs. And that's where Robert Rubin, who became CEO of Goldman Sachs and then Secretary of the Treasury, he started out at J. Aaron, Goldman Sachs. And now, Mr. Christian's major clients are still the bankers. So why would he come out and give you the history of silver, that it's actually not just money, but currency of the masses? And why would you want a bank account when you can have silver coins, when you can pay silver coins, when you know that it's not going to be able to be inflated out of thin air by the bankers? And that's why they hate it. It's the privacy. They don't know what you're doing. The government doesn't know what you're doing, and the government, we know, works with the bankers. It's an honest money as well. It keeps its value, as we've seen with the Maria Theresa Taler, or the fat lady. I'm sorry, Austrians, to say that. And that's why they hate it. And that's why I keep telling people, and Billy as well, that you have to stack physical silver. No ETF will do, really, because ultimately, even ETFs that we think are credible, I think the bankers can manipulate that. They can go and short any ETF they want. But if you take a few coins, as many as you can, I guess, it doesn't matter if it's 1 ounce a month or 100 or 1,000. They've made it quite easy right now, even though the premiums are very high, to stack. So that's what I say. Keep stacking. And Yeah. What about the LBMA or the paper price? I think eventually they will lose this battle, especially with more and more people waking up about silver. And hopefully I have helped wake a few people up about silver. And before I go look at the markets and the Fed, so I'll show you how actually when you think about the colonial era, you think that it was a really bad period. And I'm not saying it was perfect, but even in places like Rhodesia, for example, which was a colony, they had silver coins. Even in places like Papua New Guinea, which was a colony, they had silver. This one has a little hole. It's a Papua New Guinea. It's a New Guinea shilling. Where else? Belgium, 1873. There you go. This was given to me by one of the viewers. He knows who he is. There's 5 francs silver coin. Well, we have the British crown, sterling silver, 1890. Yeah, the Morgan dollar. What year is that? 1921. There you go. What else have we got? Anything else? Yeah, I think I have a, where is it? Oh, it's not here, but I have a Bolivian coin as well. I have all kinds of coins, and it just goes to show that it's universal. It is universal money and currency as well, for that matter. Bankers seem to want to brainwash us into thinking that only entries in their books are currency. So no, this is currency as well. What about gold? I think gold is also currency, but it's more for the king, so to speak. Not literally, but the very, very wealthy have a lot of gold, and it's more of a store value proposition, right? So let's look at the markets then. It's 20 to 9 a.m. London time. So we've got spot gold at $18.94. It's up about $12. We've been up back above 1900 overnight. The high has been 1903.68. Silver is trading at 23.02. Of course, if you want to buy a silver ounce, be it in the US or here, you're never going to find it for that price, of course. The high's been 23.30 and the low 22.90. So it's up about 6 cents right now. The Dow future is down 132. The NASDAQ 100 future is down 95 points, and the S&P is down 24. FTSE is up 95, and the Euro Stoxx 50 is up 74 points. Before I move on to the rest of the market report, just a comment on the Fed. Yes, they raised by 50 basis points. That was priced in. No surprise there. But I think the market perceived Jay Powell's press conference and his answers to questions, softball questions that is, as dovish, because he pointed out that they're not looking to hike maybe by 0.75 or 75 basis points. And the market took that as being dovish, and that's why the stock market rallied. That's why bond yields dropped a bit. And I listened to the last bit of his press conference, and I have to say he's still in denial. He still thinks that they can raise rates to what they call the neutral rate, which is probably around 2.5% to 3%. And with inflation running at 8.5%, and probably even more if you look at shadow stats like 16%, 2.5% to 3%, or even 4 or 5% Fed funds rate will do nothing to stop the inflation. If you really want to stop the inflation, you need to raise rates into the double digits right now, and I can't see them doing that. So we're going to continue to see inflation, and another reason to keep stacking. Maria Theresa Taler's maybe. Yeah, that's the way I saw the Fed. Nothing's really changed. So back to the currencies now then. Sterling is down substantially this morning. It's down 0.75%, 125.40. The euro is down 1/4 at 105.95. Dollar's up 0.5% versus the yen. Dollar actually dropped quite a bit yesterday after the FOMC. It's rebounding a little bit right now. Yeah, dollar yen is 129.68. The dollar's up 0.5% versus the yuan, 664.77. And the dollar's up 0.5% versus the Swiss franc, 97.68. Aussie dollar is down 0.5% at 72.18. The dollar's up slightly versus the Canadian, 127.48. Kiwi dollar is down 0.5%, 65.09. To the general commodities, WTI crude, yeah, 100 seems to be a very strong support right now. We're unchanged at 106.95. Brent crude is at almost 110 actually, up slightly. High-grade copper is up 1% at 438.50. And US nat gas is approaching 9. It's at 8.51, up 0.8%. Finish off with the 10-year yield. We are at 297, up 6 basis points. So the drop in yields yesterday has been reversed. We'll have to see what happens. Bank of England is expected to raise rates today. I think by a puny 0.25% to 1%. It's the highest rate in years, but it's still the lowest rate. Probably, going back historically, the average rate is like 5%. So it will do nothing to stop the inflation. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.